with metalsmith Mark Nelson, and Mark, you have a wonderful idea using crystals and metal together, and I love these chandelier earrings.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. What a gorgeous design.
Well, thank you. I used gold filled in this case to kind of give them a very elegant look.
Yeah, they're just beautiful.
Thanks.
What do we do to get started?
What do you do? Well, I got lucky, and my design called for a washer, and I was able to find a gold filled washer, pre-cut, so I didn't have to do any cutting. And then all we need to do now is go ahead and solder on these jump rings so we can hang our decorative elements.
Okay, and what's different about gold filled than other metals that we've seen you solder before?
Well, really, yeah, it's a good thing you asked. Gold filled is a bimetal, so it's usually a gold layer bonded to a brass, either on one side or both sides.
So that's different from plating, because plating is a layer that's coated on top, very thin.
Exactly, exactly. So this is a thick layer, but you do have to be very careful not to scratch it or overheat it.
Okay, so proceed with caution.
A lot of caution.
All right.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to solder that jump ring closed. Okay. And we might use, actually in this case, a little too much solder.
On purpose, you're saying?
On purpose. That way it'll make getting onto the disc a lot easier. So what I do is I cut a fringe. I cut across this way, and I'm going to cut across that.
So you're just clipping off a tag or two?
Mm-hmm. I make these are called pallions. And we'll just put them right there.
And you're just using regular shears to do that?
Right. And then we do need a flux. We need to keep that oxygen away from the seam to get that solder to flow. So you can just kind of, these are really small, so you don't have to be really highly accurate.
All right.
And let me get that torch going, put on my glasses.
And you're just going to use the torch to fire this, or solder this closed, so that you have a solid ring.
Right. And if I do it on the seam, I can use that same seam to do both solder jobs.
Oh, I see.
So I'll come in here and actually just kind of put that on the seam and gently give it a little coaxing.
It looks like you're using a pretty light touch.
Very light touch, because it won't take much. This is easy gold solder. Now, gold solder is the best match for gold fill, okay? Because you actually have 14 karat gold on the surface, right?
On both surfaces.
On both surfaces. So if you use gold solder, it's going to match.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and pickle that, rinse it, and then once we have all the ones done, we can start to attach them.
So you'll do this in steps, and the first step will be to do all of your rings.
All the rings.
So in this case, you're making a chandelier earring with 3 loops at the bottom and 1 at the top.
Right.
But you could extend these up the rest of the way.
You can do as many as you like.
Or add more loops.
Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do get them onto the washer, and you do want to put a barrier flux on here so that it doesn't get fire scale. Now fire scale is, if you kind of look over here on the block, is a pink splotchy look, and if it gets real bad, you'll be puffing and buffing through it, and there go your gold layer.
I see. So then you would have brass,
right,
or whatever's inside.
And you just kind of relabel your piece.
What did you just do?
That was the boric acid denatured alcohol, and it's going to protect the piece from getting fire scale. So what I'll do now is I'll line these up wherever I need them to be, and I make kind of a cool little jig, because I need to do multiples and I need them to match.
Right, since they're earrings, I think that's one of the hardest parts about earrings is making them look the same.
Right.
So you set up your template. You'll use that for centering.
And positioning. Again, and what I'm trying to do is get that solder on the washer.
Oh, so you're turning each ring so that the soldered ends are touching the washer.
Right.
And then do you add more solder?
Sometimes I will. I kind of have to feel it out.
All right.
In this case, I'm going to. Before I do that, I'm going to add the flux.
So you just lightly touch each one?
Yeah, right there at the seam. You don't need to put this flux all over. Put my glasses down. Now you got to be careful not to overheat it. Now, one thing that a lot of people want to do when they're soldering is they want to overheat the piece to get it to go. You know, the solder won't flow, and it won't flow, and it won't flow.
And then all of a sudden it's gone.
It's already gone. Well, when you do that, you get a lot of fire scale. So the key thing when you're doing gold filled, don't push it, okay?
So just go gently.
Just go gently. See how it flowed up on that ring? So it's all on the jump ring, so I have to heat the base. There it goes.
Oh, there. So if you could see that it's not attaching, you would add a little bit more solder?
Sometimes. Or maybe just change my heat. maybe I'm heating in the wrong spot.
Oh, I see.
You know?
And I notice that you always use your torch in your non-dominant hand.
That's right. Yeah, because that way, because I need that fine
You
control.
need your tools.
Right.
So how do we finish this up?
How are we going to finish it up? We're going to just use a bristle disc to start with, and then you can finish it up with like a muslin buff and some fine rouge.
And that would all be to take off the fire scale.
Fire scale, and also to give it that bright finish.
Oh yeah, and it is so shiny. Let's take one more look. These beautiful chandelier earrings.
Yeah, thanks.
And it looks like you made some wrapped loops here on head pins to attach the crystals.
Right, right.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mark. This is
Thank
great. And thanks for joining us today. Next time, our bead feature is heart-shaped beads. Join us for a perennial favorite here on Beads, Baubles, and Jewels.